morning, traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And I'm Joel Elconin. Welcome to Premarket Info.
Got some good news overseas last night, and the market is popping up. The German court approves a euro bailout fund. That made the S&P pop up 5 or 6 points, about 415 this morning. Zuckerberg's conference call was yesterday. He said a few good comments there that the market liked, and Facebook is popping. It's the release of iPhone 5 for Apple. Expect some volatility ahead of that. And we're going to look at some key technical setups and some of your top S&P components. Joel, what do you think about this market?
The Dennis rally continues.
We bounced off that top of that range there that I've drawn on the chart here. And actually yesterday or overnight here, we took out those highs you were talking about.
Yeah, that's the only thing we really have a reference point is basically had a triple top from Friday, Monday, and Tuesday's activity, with the highest level being 1438.75. We got above there in the pre-market, but that's still just a critical level for the Dennis rally to continue.
Well, we've got a lot of catalysts here. The Apple iPhone 5. We've had, obviously, the German court approving that Eurozone bailout, like we just said. And we also are at the start of the FOMC meeting today. So tomorrow we may get a little hint or possibly some QE3.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so sick of hearing about that QE3, no QE3, the numbers are good, the numbers are bad. I think you got to ignore that news and just, try and play the technicals and, whatever events come out. It just doesn't seem like anybody's coming out with any bad news for the economy.
Well, Facebook, Zuckerberg had his conference call yesterday after the bell there, and the stock actually got pretty good lifts. He said a few good things, talked for about a half an hour. One big comment was he sees big opportunity in search, making everybody think that Facebook is going to get into search. Some people had speculated that. Also says he'd rather be underestimated than overestimated. Obviously showed some concern for his stock price, but really implied that he thinks the stock is cheap.
Facebook is now at the point where it's just been going down, and people that want to get in are just waiting for the next leg down. And instead, what you had a bottom here at 1755 on the 4th. I've been one of those people waiting to come back and test that level, and it just keeps getting farther and farther away from there. And now we've popped over the $20 mark. You've had a lot of highs right around there. You settle over 20 today, and this thing may be ready to make a move.
It is getting a nice lift here this morning, trading at 2014. How high did it get last night during that call, Joel? Do you have that after hours high in front of you?
I sure do, man. What else am I good for?
Good for the numbers.
It got to 20 and a quarter.
Okay, so yeah. We're almost as high as we were trading 2015 right now. I think it is critical that this stock holds on to the gains today. I would not want to see it turn and roll over. So it's traded a ton of volume last night. It's traded 665,000 here this morning as well. So it is trading some pretty decent volume up here at 2015. We'll have to see, but I think it's critical that it does hold on to these gains. The Apple iPhone 5 release here is today. The stock has been very volatile for the past couple of days. We were saying how it typically used to run up into that, but actually the last couple of days it has sold off ahead of this release. What's going to happen with the stock here today? We're up $3 in the pre-market.
Yeah, it did float as high as $667.99, and now you've had a sell-off to the $663.90 area. I think if you're trying to trade this thing during, this announcement, I mean, you might as well just be throwing darts against the wall. I mean, basically, unless Tim Cook goes to turn it on and it doesn't work, I mean, how can this be construed as something negative? I mean, it's very much anticipated product. People are going to buy it. I think I'm going to wait for the iPhone 6, though, personally. I don't know if the 5 is going to have enough features for me. But just keep an eye on 670.10 on the upside. That was Tuesday's high. and you got a nice low here at 556.50. So I would just
650,
keep an eye on those.
650. I gotta watch you on those handles.
Oh,
650, 650.
yeah,
There's a
I
nice
just
bomb
keep.
down there, 550, 652, but I don't think we're going to see that level today. So we'll call it 650, 650, the bottom you're talking about. I think you've just got to. It's hard to play this technically when there's fundamentals at play here. We always say when the fundamentals come into play, the technicals go away. Obviously, there's a lot of fundamental players playing this off of this iPhone announcement. If they don't have, like you said, as many upgraded features, maybe people think, oh, well, nobody's going to upgrade to this, and it's not, the sales won't be quite as good. So it's really hard to say from a technical basis where this is going to go. You did have that low, if you are looking. There was one at 648.11 back on August the 22nd, and if we were to take that out, there's not that much below that area. But that's $12 or $14 away.
Well, yeah, and there's another nice vacuum between. Well, you had 656.50 is Tuesday's low, the 12-day low at 655.55. Under that, that's a vacuum area. But maybe it'll be an inside day today in Apple.
It's hard to say. Expect volatility in Google, though, as well. These charts, they do tend to track each other. Obviously, Google with the Android. It's trading actually just up a bit right now. Google up a buck at 693.13. Again, though, if you're trading Google today, I would keep an eye on Apple. Apple will probably be your leader there, and it could give you a tell if you're trading Google.
Yeah, from a long-term perspective, I mean, this stock did trade over 700 a couple times. You got as close to a double top here at 712 and a quarter, 712.81. You got two settlements over 700, but that was short-lived. I think at this point with this parabolic move from where would this thing come from? Like 550 area. I think you'd like to see some settlement, a string of settlements over 700, or I'd be getting a little bit of nervous here on the long side.
Facebook lifting up 2033 now as we keep talking here. It's going higher. Texas Instruments updated their third quarter there last night. It seems like every time this company comes out with news after the bell, you got to fade the initial move because this stock popped up. Joel will find out how high it went, but I know it went over $29 there a couple minutes after they updated the quarter, and then it just turned around and started selling off. So, and it actually is trading down here a little bit right now. When we're up 5 on the S&P, this is trading down 9 cents right now. How high did that get last night?
29.15.
29.15, and then it turned around and just kind of sold off. And I remember the opposite when they updated their quarter, the last quarter when they did the update. It actually sold off, but then rallied back and ended up going higher. So the play has been off those Texas Instruments updates after the bell to fade the initial move, and that would have worked here again.
Yeah, looking at the charts, though, you're really opening into a critical area here. 28.50 is really held this stock going back to, we're long-term traders here, September 4th. You've had a lot of lows, 28.50, 28.47, and then yesterday's low was 28.52. So I don't know how overall they're going to interpret the news, but the charts are saying Texas Instruments is opening into support.
AIG, we talked about it yesterday, being priced at 32.50. We talked how that 32.50 area can sometimes act like a floor. That's exactly what it did. The stock opened up into that floor and just bounced. 32.58 is where it opened. I think it got down to 32.56, so a couple cents off the low of the day it opened and just went straight up from there. People use that as a buying opportunity.
Well, when they do those placements like that, they have to put them at a price where it's going to be bought, or else it really puts a hurt on the stock. Actually, I heard the AIG CEO on CNBC after the close, man, and the way he was talking, I was ready to go out and buy the stock.
He was getting you pumped up. I still look at this stock though, and you can say, "Oh, it's $33." And they were saying on CNBC yesterday how this stock is it's back. AIG is back. Let's be honest. This thing's reverse split 20 for 1. So where is this really? When you figure out that reverse split price, where is this thing trading at? $1.50 or $2 or something, Joel?
I was sick that day in school.
Anyways, it hasn't come all the way back. Don't kid yourself here. If you look at the all-time highs, because they've adjusted it, the all-time high on this thing is up there in the $1,500 area. So when
Well,
this
it's
thing's trading at
actually it's
33 bucks,
it's actually 1733.
oh, that's the all-time high.
72.
So it needs to go back to $1,733 for those people that bought it back in the early 2000s to get their money back. So I don't think they're that excited that the stock's at $33 right now. So say what you want, but you got to respect that this thing had a 20-for-1 reverse split. This company obviously is starting to turn around here, but let's be honest, it's not back. So when people say, oh, AIG is back, I just laugh that comment off. You can see this chart. The stock is dead money if you bought this thing anytime before 2009. So, and if you bought this thing up in 2000, 1500, you were never getting your money back. So, just because it comes up $1 here, I don't think those people are too excited. But if you were buying it here a couple months ago and you picked up 27, 28 bucks, you're pretty happy right now because the stock has started to show some strength and show some life.
It did hit 33.90 in the pre-market. That coincides with the 33.83 high that we had on Monday. I think what you might have in this stock today, I think you have a lot of, I won't call them high frequency traders and I won't call them like day traders, but people that just take, fundamental news like this 3250 number, take a piece of stock off the open, not looking to hit a home run on it, but just, based on, the valuation,
Right.
They accumulate a large position. I mean, this thing traded in mega volume yesterday,
Yep.
and they're not looking for a home run on this. I mean, they're looking, if you take a large position in the stock and you get, 3/4 of a point, a buck move, who cares? So I'm thinking that that 33.90 to $34 level today is going to keep a cap on AIG.
Lots of your banks have been moving here. We've talked about the European banks. It seems like every day we come on the show talk about the European banks. ING trading at 876 now. RBS trading up at 883. These things go up every day here, Joel. Credit Suisse trading up. Obviously, it's the news over there on the German court decision there. But, I mean, these things have just been marching, these European banks, and our U.S. banks have been marching in sympathy.
Yeah, I mean, this Deutsche Bank chart, I mean, just being under the $30 level not too long ago. And I believe we wrote it off for dead down there.
We screwed up on that one.
That down there. So now we're getting all rosy and bullish here. You folks may want to get out of here.
Maybe fade us on these European. We don't obviously we can trade our U.S. equities pretty good. Maybe we don't know what we're doing when we talk about the European ones, but I don't know. This is going to start to come into resistance here. You had some highs back in April there, so if you look back into that area, you're getting into a few highs from back in April, so maybe that gives you some resistance. But I'm not even going to try to call resistance. These things are just trading on the headlines now. The headlines move these stocks, so when you're playing them overnight, you're taking headline risk, so it's difficult. Intraday is always difficult too because they're following the European price. We lag over here. So, but I like to use these things. I don't usually trade the European banks, but I like to use them as indicators. And if you look, when those things are trading up, our U.S. banks do go up in sympathy. Goldman Sachs is trading up this morning. Citigroup's getting a nice lift here, 32.94 after closing at 32.66. And Morgan Stanley is trading up as well, 17.38. All our U.S. banks are looking good too.
Yeah, I just want to alert our traders, Goldman Sachs here. Just, kind of, if you're trying to hold on to a long and looking for a resistance point. In April, we traded up to 120.09, and we also had a high at 120.41. So that's still a couple bucks away from here, but that would be the next major resistance point in Goldman Sachs.
CHK in the news, Chesapeake, they're selling some of their assets to Shell and Chevron. That's giving the stock a nice lift here in the pre-market. It just ticked up to 21 bucks. 20.95 is where it's at right now. 20.10 is where it closed. Chesapeake is one that it was looking awful back in May, got down to 13.32, but since that time the stock's up considerably here. Was this thing going to continue the rally, or is this starting to run into resistance here?
Who was it that I remember some big boy stepped into that thing at 14 or
Yeah, you
15?
know what? It was BlackRock. BlackRock
Uh,
came in here, and here you had Icon. He was talking Chesapeake. I know all the way down. He was talking his book, and and Icon. They don't follow him as much as when. But when BlackRock steps in and says we've put a position on, that was the bottom. They literally stepped in. I think saying at around $14, announced that they had acquired I think a 3 or 4% stake in Chesapeake, and since then the stock has been straight up. So when you see the real guns like BlackRock coming into something, take note.
what about Warren? You put more credence in BlackRock than over.
Warren has an influence too, but when Warren says in, then it pops right away 4, 5, 6% is the problem when Warren says he's in something. So BlackRock, when they announced that, it didn't pop that much immediately. You had a day or two there to think about it, and you could have got in basically at the same price that BlackRock did. The problem is when Warren buys, then they announce it, then it's up 5% immediately, and you got to be buying off that bottom. But I mean, obviously Buffett has influence too, but BlackRock, they're smart puppies over there at BlackRock.
Yeah, well, 21 and a quarter is the high in the pre-market. We backed off there a little bit. They're coming in at a real interesting level here. You had a string of four tops here. Yeah, the four tops, good old Detroit band. 2011 to 2019, this was back in July. That put a lid on the stock. And then you revisited that area 2044 in August. And now we're back here again at 2041 was the high on Friday. We are trading above that level. So I'm not going to try and pick a top on this. But if I was trying to protect profits that I don't have from when this thing traded under $14, I'd keep an eye on this 2040 level. If it started to crack below that level, then perhaps you may want to look at some protection on the downside.
Want to highlight a few stocks in the Big Ten. ExxonMobil, this $90 level. We've talked about it every day on the show. I'll continue to talk about it. I do have a position on in ExxonMobil for full disclosure as well. But $90 has had huge institutional selling pressure. Every time it gets up into the 89, 90s, the high frequency traders put a lid on it. You can see all these tops in the 89, 80s, 89, 90s. Continues to be resistance. I guess you continue to play that until the $90 level gets taken out.
Yeah, is there a pretty good piece there?
Yeah, a few 100,000 at 90. So those high frequency guys feasting on that order, and they sell short in front of that order because they can lean on that. So what happens is this thing gets up to the 89, 90 area, and you get your swing traders, and you get your day traders, and you get your position traders, and you get a lot of people just leaning on all those high frequency guys too, and the high frequency guys leaning on the institutions. So 89, 90 becomes like a wall.
Yeah, it just to go back and take a look, you had a similar formation at the $89 level,
Yes,
going back a little bit, and it took a while to get through there. What was interesting about that is it did bust through it on Thursday of last week and came back and settled on it. And in a lot of your articles, you talked about once the size is gone, it's free to move. Well, there it took it out during the day, but it didn't move till actually didn't make the big move until the next day. But keep an eye on that $90 level.
That's a good point too here. Just because it takes out that size doesn't mean it's immediately going to go higher, because you get a lot of traders that come in and sometimes play it for the breakout, and the high frequency traders love to fake those traders out. We always call breakout or fake out. And a lot of times what happens is you'll see the stock tick up to 90.05 and everybody's like, oh, it's finally breaking out, I'm going to get long this. And then the high frequency traders, knowing all the short term herd has just bought this for a breakout, turn the stock around and shake all those traders out, and sometimes you see it actually fall 30 or 40 cents very quickly, even within a few seconds sometimes after it takes out that big size. So even if it does take out that size, don't expect the stock to just take off right away. Sometimes it has a little pullback there just to shake out those breakout traders.
And the last of the Big Ten to talk about, Wells Fargo yesterday got beat up by Goldman Sachs a couple days ago, and then they announced some disappointing news on their net interest margins. Open low, couldn't quite get to that $34 level. Actually, $33.97 was the low back on September 6th, and the bids got in there and they ran it up. What I also want to point out is that we got within 2 cents of the low in the close on Monday, and that acted as resistance, and then it fell back down. But that $34 level is going to be major support, I think, in Wells Fargo for a few days.
It was just an interesting technical day. If you were trading Wells Fargo technically, you probably had a pretty good day. It opened down near the low, ran up all the way to where it had closed the previous day, so it filled that entire gap, and like you said, then ran into resistance and sold the entire thing back off. We always say stocks like to fill gaps. It filled it and then killed it, and then the stock went back down. So you look here at the chart on Wells Fargo, 34 area is critical for that to hold. I have highlighted another major support area though, which is around that 33.75. We had multiple lows there, so if it does take out 34, don't expect to just get killed right away. There's lots of support at 33.75, and if this thing starts to rally, I'm starting to see some institutional sell orders build up in the 34.50 area. So don't be surprised those high frequency traders try to put a lid on it in the 34.40s.
Okay, that's our show for today, folks, and we'll be back with you tomorrow.